Top 50?
Top 50 from the stash.
All right, let's get right into it then, if that's the case.
Cool, yeah. Starting off, this was a piece that was in the shop for a while, and it just was hanging there. People really didn't know what it was, didn't really give it the time of day. But it's actually an original Grateful Dead concert promo hat, and it says Grateful Diver on the back, which is obviously kind of different. And so you're thinking, like, why does it say Grateful Diver and not Grateful Dead? It's because they did a series of concerts to benefit coral reef preservation. And so that hat like went with that series of concerts in the early 90s. So just like something crazy that, you know, you see a lot of Grateful Dead stuff, but you don't see really anything from that series. Right. And we had to definitely do some research behind the hat when we got it. But yeah, it sat in the shop too long, and I was like, no, it fits me. It fits me well. Like I gotta take that home and respect it like it deserves.
And you wear hats a lot too. So
yeah,
it's
for
like
sure.
Definitely a staple in your collection, right?
For sure.
And the fade is insane.
Yeah, the like cool denim brim, just with the natural like sun fade on it. Right. Just kind of because I imagine at one point it was like that shade of red.
Right, and the red, like this one is probably close to that too.
Right, but it's like a good like kind of salmon color now. It's nice.
Yeah, that one's crazy.
Yeah. Next up, this one was a super, you know, cool, like close to my heart find, just because it was when I was out in LA in 2016, going to flea markets. I would go to the Fairfax High School, Melrose Avenue Flea Market every Sunday morning, and I got to know a lot of those guys that had booths there, and one of the guys named Steve, he had a booth, and I would visit him every Sunday, and he just so happened to be putting this out one Sunday morning, and he had it hanging up, and I was like, yo, like that's crazy, because I peeped the little Nike hit at the bottom, and I knew immediately it was a cast and crew jacket, and I was like, yo, how much for that one? And he was like, yo, man, like 15. I was expecting him to say like at least 150 or something like that.
Something crazy.
Yeah, so he said 15, you know, without that extra zero, and I was like, bet. And his exact words was like, yo, that one's a snowball from hell, man. Like you never see shit like that. So
and for that price too.
Oh, and for that price, I was like, yeah, I'm never ever selling this. So because you know Nike did a whole series of different shows, like you see a lot of Seinfeld and you know, Poetic Justice and just different
merch and stuff like that.
Yeah, different cast and crew stuff. But yeah, man, this one was just a really cool piece to me, just a piece of Nike history and something you don't see every day.
And it's quality too.
It's high quality, all wool. Leather sleeves.
Tag is insane on it too.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, this one's insane.
Really cool piece.
And has a cool story behind it too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
right.
and shout out to those guys who are on the constant flea market grind out in LA, which is, you know, we think there's competition here in Indy, but like competition level is like, yeah, definitely like 50 times what we got going on here. This one is another, we're kind of getting into the hip hop section of things, by the way. But this one's another really cool one to me because one of my all-time favorite songs is Passing Me By The Pharcyde, and this was from that album, Bizarro Ride 2, and there's a song on there called Where's Quinton, which is about their drug dealer, and so that's kind of explains the hit on the back, you know, by Delicious Vinyl, who made the record, and yeah, good original album promo piece, which just like, groups like the Pharcyde, like they're not really that mainstream outside of hits like Passing Me By, which still isn't really that mainstream of a hit, but like for their stuff in general, you just never see it. And for this to be a good like big size that fits me, like everything in here, I wear. Like
right.
No, I have stuff in the vault that like is just vault stuff that I don't wear, but like I wanted to showcase shit that like I'm actually wearing on a day-to-day basis.
That someone might see if you came into the shop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and to me, like in this hip hop section, like I don't know, like I have rap tees that you're used to seeing, but like to me the cooler rap tees are the ones that are like the original like promos that you just don't see guys post and don't have the same type of hype, but like from me to you.
But if you know about it,
if you know about it, you know about it. So yeah, that's that.
It's a big size too.
Right. That's kind of the same thing with this. And this one I honestly like. I would like to say that I know what the fuck this is, but I really don't. And you know, my best guess is, you know, it was kind of a smaller group from that same era. But yeah, it just says the Boys, and I thought it was really cool. He has like the old like X hoodie on. But yeah, another, you know, single stitch on the old branded Made in the USA tag, like just really good size and kind of wash to it. But it's cool, just old like Black history / hip hop stuff like is obviously really relevant now, and just a super cool way to kind of showcase history and showcase like the roots of not only hip hop culture but just streetwear culture in general, because that's obviously where that stemmed from. And it's cool to pay homage to that, and I don't know, have pieces like this that, you know, I'm still like, you know, hopefully I'll be wearing it in the shop one day and somebody will come in and know the story behind them, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's great.
Another cool piece. This next one was kind of one that, like, you know, I feel like, I don't know, 5 to 10 years ago, like, we would have been passing on these, but I don't know, Lil Wayne is easily top 3 favorite artists of all time for me. He's top 3 in my top 10, like, just an insane artist and one of my favorites. But also this shirt in general just has a kind of an insane graphic to it. I think actually Bailey has the same shirt, I want to say. So shout out to Bailey. But I had never seen another one until Bailey posted his. And this is just one where I could just see the value going up on it, you know, as years come, because a lot of Lil Wayne stuff doesn't have a graphic like this. Like, this kind of has your typical, like, rap tee look to it. But yeah, you know, for me personally, this was a grail, just really good size to it, and one of my favorites, so I couldn't really go wrong with it.
Right. Would you say Lil Wayne had like a lot of inspired you to make music and stuff like that? For
sure. I mean, even I'd say less so style of rap, but more so like work ethic, and just somebody who you saw like who would be at his prime and wasn't satisfied.
Yeah.
And you know, he kept working and to, you know, wanted to be better even when he was the best.
Right.
So,
and it's a good reminder. Like, this one is like a really good reminder, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, Lil Wayne's not that." And I'm like, he was like, the biggest rapper at one time.
He ran hip hop for like a good like 10-year period.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that he's like not necessarily like in like the like spotlight right now, but like I think easily he could be like right back in the conversation.
For sure.
If he wanted to be in that conversation.
And people, you know, people can say whatever about him now and how he's fallen off or whatever, but like when he drops something, people still care about it.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, when I was getting into hip hop first, he was one of those guys. So big for me. This next one, continuing on the hip hop path, was just a super cool one that you don't see too often, from the Hard Knock Life Ride or Die tour. Little crossover with, you know, Hove, DMX, Redman, and Method Man. Just super cool shirt, because you don't see those guys together too often on anything. I kind of like how it's like a one-tone kind of color to it. Like, it's not like a lot of the rap tees you see are like a bunch of loud, crazy colors, which I mean is cool to an extent, but this one's just like super subtle, and just something to me about subtlety of even colors, like in the gradients of it, just makes it really cool. Right. And this one is another one, again, like it's not like it's I want to say early 2000s, probably like 03 around there, but like it's another one that would go up in value for sure as the years go by. Like anything DMX related, anything Jay-Z related, obviously Method Man, Wu-Tang Connection related, just goes up in value. It has all the dates on the back, or tour stops. But yeah, just another really good piece of hip hop history.
Yeah, it's got that hint of like orange and like yellowish, kind of like the Wayne one.
Exactly.
Like they might have toned it down a little bit more coming into like that time.
For sure.
But it might be like the next generation of rap tees, like this
kind
of style.
Exactly. This next one, it's funny, it doesn't really look like shit upon first glance. ESPN presents Slam Jams, which was an old like kind of dunk show that I used to watch actually as a kid. I remember on ESPN or ESPN2 it would come on sometimes. But this one I actually found thrifting in Milwaukee. There was like a little shop, like kind of a sneaker store, and they had like a little like vintage rack in Milwaukee. Yeah, but they didn't have like a whole lot of stuff on the rack. Right. And this was one of those shirts, and they had it in there for $10. And I was like, yo, that like this would be a $10 shirt maybe if it was just an ESPN shirt. But you flip it over, and it says One Step Beyond with the Tommy Boy Records hit at the very bottom, which I don't know if people know, but Tommy Boy Records was like kind of one of the founding hip hop labels. Like early on, they did a bunch of cool stuff, even merch wise. Like they had cast and crew jackets that were Carhartt, like kind of written in the Stussy font, like just really cool stuff. And you know, with that hip hop connection, who knows what this shirt's actually worth? on like the Hanes, like kind of late 90s beefy. Yeah, I mean, this is just a super cool piece, and then to find it for $10, like,
and some good conditions.
Yeah, good shape, and I feel like they just for that price they didn't see Tommy Boy or didn't know what Tommy Boy was. So
when was it that you got this?
Probably a year ago.
Oh, so it should have been at a point where like people were doing.
Oh,
this.
definitely.
I thought maybe this is like an older story, but
Nah.
It's kind of crazy what slips through people's like minds, or like just like you see like very like little on there, and they could do their research and find out.
For sure, and that was really a situation where like maybe a few years prior I may not have been as hip to Tommy Boy, and I would have passed on it.
Right.
But like I don't know, with the Slam Jams plus the Tommy Boy connection, like it's a super cool piece.
Right.
Next one, kind of sticking with hip hop again. Another Jay-Z, but this one was from the homie Keough. Actually hooked me up with this. Probably like, gosh, that had to have been going on like 5-6 years ago that he hooked me up with this. But this is from the XXL 2005 cover. Power 105 hosted a concert with Jay-Z. Obviously got Hove on there, kind of looking a little younger than he does now, which is kind of cool. But then really what makes this shirt for me is the back, which was the cover of that XXL with not only Hove, but Bron, Kanye, and Foxy Brown on the cover. And, 2005 Bron was sophomore Bron, like, real young. Kanye was, like, pre-insane Kanye, so that was dope. But, I mean, just the whole, like, epicness of this cover on a T-shirt. Like, I haven't seen another one of these in existence, to my knowledge. Now, I don't know if this shirt has a whole lot of value at the moment, because, again, it's kind of just like an early 2000s hip-hop commemorative shirt, but at the same time, like, it means a lot to me. It's a good size, and I can see this increasing in value a lot.
Right. It's one of those things that, like, even if Kanye does go a little controversial, I would say.
For sure. Well,
but like to that, sorry, like LeBron's always going to get bigger and bigger.
Well, I was about to say, yeah, right. All those guys, like, no matter what they do, even if all of them go off the deep end, they're all legends.
Like, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
At the end of the
they
day.
solidify themselves.
And from that point, like, Kanye was fresh in the game at that point. LeBron was fresh in the game at that point. Like, they have ascended so much since that point. To think that they were both at that beginning stage in their career is super dope.
And it's so weird because, like, it's like a lot of people have like Jordan in their collection, or
right.
like maybe like Magic or something, but you never see. It's probably because he's like earlier on. Like, we don't like a lot of his stuff isn't vintage yet.
Yeah.
But it is crazy to see something like that and like have it like be a part of your collection.
And it's crazy to think that, like, LeBron's rookie year was 2003, and that's going on 20 years ago. Like,
that's crazy.
Early LeBron stuff is vintage now.
Yeah,
which is kind of crazy to think, but it is. So next up, kind of sticking again with hip hop theme. Everybody talks about rap tees, but I got a pair of rap sweats. And I don't know if anybody out there is familiar with Naughty by Nature. Probably so, because this was a pretty huge song. You down with O.P.P? Yeah, you know me. But on sweatpants. These were actually from the homie Chance. Like, again, like probably 6 years ago, he found them, and I snagged them from him. Which honestly is cool. Like, with this series, like, for me, I can't speak on anybody else, but going through all these, like, it's cool for me to, like, thrift stuff and let that be a part of my collection. But I also think it's cool, like, when I have pieces that are from friends of mine and I can look at them and be like, yo, like, it makes me think of them every time I wear it or see it. I like to shout them out. Like, if I didn't thrift it myself, like, I think it's important to, like, let people know that there's other people out here, like, really finding good stuff.
Right. We talked about that in a couple of past, like, episodes, just about, like, how, like, something might have, like, monetary value or it's cool to you, but right. It's also really cool when it's like, oh, I see this item and I'm thinking immediately, I might not keep it, but I know who would want it.
Right.
And it's really cool when we, like, look out for each other and, like, want to keep stuff in our, like, community.
For sure.
And stuff like that. I think that's really cool.
And this was another thing, actually, that I had in the shop forever. Yeah. And they just sat, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to let them sit anymore. Like, we had a few, it was funny, we had a few, like, guys that wanted to get them, and their girlfriends were like, nah, you can't do that. Because of the O.P.P stands for other people's pussy. So, it wasn't a good look for those that were taken, but good thing my fiance is very understanding and respects the hip hop history behind this piece. But yeah, this is just a super dope thing. And again, like, you don't see stuff on sweats, like, ever.
Did you guys have these in the unit?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
like, it had been
also,
a minute.
It's kind of crazy seeing some of your collection and thinking, like,
I
remember like the first time I met Aaron, he was wearing this, or I remember this is up in the unit, or the hat was up there, and I was like, maybe I'll get that next time. And too bad, it's gone now.
Gone,
it's in the collection now.
Yeah, they slept. They slept.
Yeah.
Next up, this is kind of like I'd say out of everything I brought out for this is probably more of the like classic rap tee kind of look to this piece. This one I actually got from the homies at the Come Up Shop when they were still in business. Sam and Angelo, they hooked me up with this. I took a thrifting trip down there. I like hit some random flea market and found a bunch of like really cool early wrestling stuff. And I went in and traded all of it up to get this. And this is one of my favorite pieces. Like, you talk about like a shirt, like you guys probably have shirts in their collection where they're like, I wish every vintage shirt would fit like this shirt because it just has the best fit to it. That's this shirt, man. It's just like the best length, has good sleeve length, like just good bagginess, like really quality. Yeah, the graphic is really vivid on it. Like, it's just great. So I mean, yeah, it's from the African American Music Festival in Cincinnati in '97. It has, you know, good people on the front like Patti LaBelle, George Benson, Mays, all those guys. But like, what makes this for me is not only Blackstreet, but having Aaliyah on the back right there is just super crazy. And Isley Brothers obviously are classics, but I mean, having Aaliyah on there with just what she stood for and the career she had, you know, and obviously a short-lived career, like, it's just super crazy. Anything with her on it, obviously, is only going up in value as years go by. But, and then to, you know, for this to have the good colors that it does, I think is super cool.
Yeah, this one is crazy.
Next up, this is kind of, so like another thing I've been really big on collecting, I kind of mentioned earlier, was like kind of some cool like Black history stuff. Just, you know, like I was saying, like just in respect for like streetwear culture and kind of hip hop culture and where that stemmed from, and me being a part of that, like I feel like it's important for me to respect, you know, that I'm a guest in this culture, you know, and respect those roots. And part of that is like collecting Black history pieces to kind of showcase that. And, you know, with my fiance being Black and just, you know, being closer with, you know, those people and what that represents, like it's important for me to have really cool pieces to showcase that. So starting off, positive women, and it's positive Black women. It's like cool all over print. And this has a really cool story behind it because Jordan, my fiance, her grandmother actually had some old tubs in her garage that she had sitting there forever. And she was like, hey, like, you guys can go through them. And Jordan like went through them one day and she sent me a picture. She's like, hey, what do you think of this? And I was like, that was sitting in your grandma's garage? Like, this thing is insane.
So yeah. What else is in there?
Oh yeah, and she had like old pictures of coworkers wearing like too short rap tees and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, where are those at, you know? But this is one of the ones that she still had sitting in her garage, which is super cool. And it has same graphic on the back, but just like the time they took to print this, and just like having homies who do shirt printing now, and just seeing the process that goes that goes into like printing one little thing, let alone like this entire all over print type of shirt, like sleeves and everything, the collar, like that's insane. And just, you know, promoting a positive message for Black history and Black culture, I think is really important and relevant. But just a really cool piece of history. This one is super kind of fried and crazy at the same time, and also relevant because of the racism that we're seeing in the country currently. This one is from the homie Nick from Select Stock in Colorado. Had to snag this from him just because stuff like this you don't see. I don't know if I'll ever actually wear this shirt because you'll see. I mean, it has Klansmen on it, but obviously denouncing Klansmen. No Boyz In The Hood is what it's saying, but at the same time, like anything with Klansmen on it, even if it's denouncing them, like I don't know if I actually ever wear it, but it is a pretty crazy piece of history.
It is.
And obviously, you know, at the time it was made, it's on the old Screen Stars Best, like early '90s tag, like, you know, you got to think like LA riots and stuff like that was going on at that time, to where somebody want to speak out. Yeah, right. And what's crazy is 30 years later, it sure is relevant. And so yeah, I think this is a really cool piece to have in the collection, and shout out to the homie Nick at Select Stock for blessing me with it. He's killing it at the new shop in Colorado. This next one, kind of sticking with the Black history theme. It's another kind of just really crazy one, and I have no idea the roots of it or where it's from, but it says Brothers Rule on the front, and it has like a black angel kind of like rescuing or like taking away this guy, and he's like dropping all the drugs out of this bag. And then you flip it over to the back, and it says, if you deal drugs to your people, your ancestors will punish you in heaven and then send you to hell. Like, wild message, like really kind of in your face, like
it's a
positive message, but also like kind of dark at the same time. And just the graphic,
veiled threat.
Yeah, right. The graphic on the front, super crazy. I actually got this one from the homie Hayden. So shout out to Hayden, who I actually think this is like the sisterhood of the traveling shirt. I think Charlie Hawker found it, sold it to Bailey, who sold it to Hayden, who sold it to me.
I want to say I've seen this before. Was it ever in your shop?
No.
So it must have been in Bailey's or...
Yeah, it was in Bailey's shop, and Hayden grabbed it, and then I saw it from Hayden and was like, yo, if you ever want to sell that, like, I'm your guy. And sure enough, he came back and sold it to me. So shout out to Hayden and Bailey and all those guys, because this is a super... I mean, this is one that, like, somebody obviously just made themselves. Like, it looks drawn. And I don't think I'd ever see another one. So really cool piece of Black history. Same thing with this next one. It's another kind of like classic rap tee graphic from the Million Man March, and it was the first anniversary of it in '96. Got this one from the homie Chance as well back in the unit days, and I've held on to it ever since just because I don't. You see the Million Woman March stuff a lot.
Much. That's what I remember. One time I saw you wearing this. Yeah. I got in a Million Woman March from you. And I was like, oh man, I want I like look them up online all the time.
Right.
You see like the crew necks maybe.
Yeah.
But like those are even hard to get, and if they like you can, they're like $300.
Right.
And you don't see shirts of them really.
No. So yeah, shout out to the homie Chance for hooking me up with this. It has a really cool back to it too. It says 1 in a million. Kind of again in that classic rap tee looking style. Yeah. But yeah, just a really cool shirt promoting a positive event in Black history, which is super cool. So yeah, shout out to Chance. Next up, I'm a really big, kind of going off the Black history stuff, but also just promoting like human rights. I'm a really big Cross Colors fan because of their message that they did with all their pieces, promoting human rights, promoting equality, promoting togetherness and love and all that stuff. Like, I feel like they were ahead of their time with like, brands would be subtle about it. They were slapping it on the front of every shirt. Like, we're going to let you know that like, this is our message. This is our motto. This is what our brand's base is.
Right.
And we don't find a lot of that out here because they were an LA based brand. But what we do find out here was, and like you'll see, connection to the Indiana Black Expo, which is another really cool historical event for Indianapolis. So yeah, here's another example of that. Both Black Expos, both on the Cross Colors tag. Like that one says "Working Together Works," but then the back hit with the logo, "Clothing Without Prejudice." This one has a sick back hit to me because it brings in more brands. So it says Threads for Life Corporation, and it's Cross Colors and another huge Black-owned brand at the time, which was Karl Kani. And shout out to Karl Kani. He copped a Kani piece we had himself personally from the shop.
That's crazy.
I don't know if I ever told you that. He called us up on the phone and was like, yo... Like, I didn't know it was him. He just said, yo, how do I buy this Kani piece off your website? Like, what do I hit? And I'm like, explaining to him. I'm like, damn, like I didn't want to sound annoyed, but like, it was like talking an old person through how to use the internet. It was like, yeah, put it in your cart, then go to checkout, hit, priority shipping, and then you'll be good. I'm like, and then I hang up. I'm like, damn, like, sometimes you just got to spoon feed stuff to people, And then next thing I know, I hear a little Shopify ding, and I look, and it's like Karl Kani Enterprises just like purchased this shirt.
Shipping label.
And like the name on it, the name of the customer was Karl Kani, and I'm thinking like, that's weird. The name of the product came up as the customer name.
You were
and I'm like, oh shit, no, he just bought it. And then I listened to him in interviews, and then I listened back to the phone call, or like thought back to it. I was like, that definitely was his voice on the phone. Like, wow, shit. So shout out to Karl Kani for copying that piece from us. But yeah, this is a super cool piece of Indianapolis and Black history. And it's all together on one shirt promoting, positive relationships and equality.
And the crazy thing about the Karl Kani past the Indie Expo and all that, but like the Karl Kani thing is he's someone that like designed, and he's still like going around and grabbing pieces for his collection.
Yeah,
bro.
for sure.
His archive, but his collection. Like he's trying to like.
You can tell he's putting his feelers out there, trying to get like all his original shit.
Well, you
back.
see Nike do that too. Nike has like eBay accounts that people like know is Nike,
right.
And they're buying like Nike stuff online so they can build their archives. But really, in the grand scheme of what they're doing is just trying to do what we do, is collect a lot of the stuff that has gotten away, but now we want to reel that back in. But yeah,
exactly. And who knows? Like the piece I sold him could inspire some new drop that he's doing. Like that's just cool to even think about. Continuing on the cross colors though, like this is a super sick cross colors piece, like one that you don't see hardly ever, which was their cross colors crew stuff. And just a super kind of different style shirt. Obviously kind of the baseball cut with the little baseball hits right there. Number 24, you know, shout out Kobe. But just a crazy cross colors piece. This was one that you see a lot of stuff with like the kind of railroad crossing logo on it, but this one like they didn't make many of. And kind of just a plain back to it. But shout out to Rad Vintage is where I got this from. So shout out to him. This was hanging up in his shop. I'd been visiting him for a few years, and this was hanging up like every time I went, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, like I gotta get it. So yeah, super cool piece. And last in the cross color section, this was a piece that, you know, just had a really good message on the front. Love crosses all boundaries, no matter what color you claim. And you know, this is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier, where they would just slap amazing message on the front, and you know, not try to hide any of that at all. Like, I don't know, if this makes you uncomfortable, man, you got something wrong with you. So it's a really, really cool message on a really good brand.
And a brand noticing their influence.
Exactly.